So we now move out of the season of Christmas. We had the Feast of the Epiphany last Sunday on Monday. This week we had the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord. And now we go to the second Sunday of Year B. The church has 3 Sunday cycles, Year A, Year B, Year C. Most of the time in Year B we have the Gospel of Mark proclaimed for us. But because it's the shortest of the Gospels, at times we have other Gospels coming in to play, sometimes and mostly the Gospel of John, as is the case this week. So this week we have the Gospel of John, and it's chapter 1, and it recounts the interplay between John the Baptist and Jesus and the call of the first disciples. So in chapter 1 of John, we have the 2 disciples heard John the Baptist say this, and they followed Jesus. Jesus turned and saw them following, and he said to them, "What are you seeking?" What are you seeking? Magnificent question. Now, of recent time, very recently in fact, Peter Kreeft, a very, very fine philosopher and theologian from the United States, has published a couple of very interesting things. One on the most influential 100 philosophers throughout history, and then secondly, a book on the Gospel of Mark. It's called Food for Soul, Reflection on the Mass Readings. And in that particular publication, this is what Kreeft has to say. He says, "For us, the clearest division seems to be the visible one between atheists and theists, that is, between unbelievers and believers, between those who have found God and those who have not." He continues, "For God, however, the deepest division is the invisible one between seekers and non-seekers. For seeking is done with the heart, and God alone knows the secrets of every heart." So we hear so much today spoken about the fact that in the Western world in particular, there is a decline of belief. We get plenty of statistics, one census to another, showing us how belief is declining comparative to years gone past, particularly say at the turn of the 20th century and the turn of the 19th century. And so the world is sort of being divided, or people think the world is being divided into those who believe and those who do not believe. But what Kreeft is saying here, and this is prompted by this question that Jesus puts to these first disciples, say, "What are you seeking?" The Kreeft's saying, no, we divide, human beings divide the world into belief and unbelief, but for God, the deepest division, not the clearest division, but the deepest division is between those who are seeking the truth, those who are seeking God, and those who are not seeking the truth, and those who are not seeking God. So I think this is a very, very good distinction for us just to pause and think about this week. The whole notion of seeking is very, very strong in the gospel. So cast your mind back, or cast your mind to the Gospel of Matthew, the great teaching gospel. Matthew is known as the great teaching gospel. And particularly from chapters 5 through to 7, we have the Sermon on the Mount. Right at the heart of that Sermon on the Mount, we hear the words of Christ: "Ask and you will receive, seek and you'll find, knock and the door will be opened." So what Kreeft is saying here, what Peter Kreeft is saying in his book called Food for the Soul, his recent publication, I think is very, very significant. That the world, in fact, for God is divided between those who seek and those who don't seek. So let's ask ourselves the question, what is the quality as the new year begins of our seeking? For those of us who are really strong believers, this applies. For those of us who are in the middle, for those who are perhaps not so strong believers, this is very, very true. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you'll find. Knock and the door will be opened. This is a call, and it's also a promise. Yes, when we encounter Christ, it's a call. We receive a call from him, and we receive a promise. And you can feel that in that particular passage of Scripture from Matthew. Ask, and you will receive. Seek, and you'll find. Knock, and the door will be opened. So just to finish with Crieff then, I think he summarises this perfectly and beautifully. He says that all who truly seek the true God, the God not of power, but the God of goodness and love, will find him. If not in this life, then certainly in the next.